Hi everyone, I am Tessa and I'm going to tell you everything about the trip I did from Amsterdam to the south of India by train and bus. It was an amazing experience. I loved every second of this trip. It was my dream coming true, and now I want to share it with you so you can plan this trip yourself. Because if I can do it, you can do it as well. Step one is plan the countries you want to visit. So if you don't plan it, you don't know what kind of visas you need, and this can be difficult. My trip went from Amsterdam to Czech to Prague to Vienna in Austria to Slovenia to Ljubljana, and I went for 2 weeks to Croatia, what is beautiful, then to Hungary, Ukraine, that really stole my heart, and then Russia, Mongolia, China, Tibet, Nepal, and then last India. For me, the main reason to this route is because I wanted to go to Mongolia. I always wanted to go horse riding in Mongolia and sleep in the yurts. And I can tell you, I'm not a horse rider. So just before I left, I took some lessons to learn how to horse ride. So you don't need to be a perfect horse rider to do this trip. And the visas. For every passport you have the different rules. So I'm gonna explain you how it works for my Dutch passport, and it's probably similar to a few other European passports. But for Europe, yeah, we clearly don't need a visa. In other countries, you need to have a Schengen visa. And I think it's not hard to apply for this as a tourist. Yeah, so for me, it was just traveling from country to country without a problem. In the Ukraine, gave me a stamp in my passport, and that was it. Then Russia. Russia was quite easy. You go to your Russian embassy. You need a special paper from the hotels in Russia to show that you're going to stay there. It's really easy. You can buy this online for like $15, and they send you this paper. You need to give this to your embassy with all the other visa application. It was really easy. I actually printed out way too much. They basically gave me back everything except for what they really need, and that is like a copy of your passport, your photo, that paper from the hotels, and how you're gonna enter and how you're gonna leave the country. And that's basically it. And you give it, and after 5 days I got a message to pick up my visa. So Russia is clearly one of the easiest ones. Yeah, for Mongolia, we don't have a Mongolian embassy in Holland. So just before I did my trip, there was a new rule that you can get a visa on arrival, also if you cross by train. But I didn't trust it yet. So in Irkutsk in Russia, I went to the Mongolian embassy, and I just need to give a paper of proof that I was going to stay in a hotel there, in a hostel, and my passport, my photo, and $70, and then in 5 minutes I had my visa for Mongolia. I just felt a little bit better about getting my visa before getting to the border, because you know, if you're at the border and something is wrong, you get a lot of trouble. So, and the rules were just new, so yeah, I got my visa before I entered. But in Holland, the visa centers are telling you that you need to get the visa before, and they ask you like 120 euro for your visa, and that's all bullshit. You can just do it right there in Irkutsk. It takes 15 minutes, $70, and you got your visa and done. So then China, yeah, check your rules with your embassy in your own country. It's not really hard, but what I had a little bit of a problem with was that I want to travel to Tibet, but if you say that on your application, there's a big risk that they cancel your visa. So don't tell them that you're gonna visit Tibet, because they just don't want you to. You need to show that you are going to leave the country by flight. And I wasn't gonna leave the country by flight. So I made a fake ticket with a real flight. So I didn't book the flight, I just made a fake ticket, but with a real flight. So if they're gonna check your flight, that it isn't a real flight, not that it's just like a made up flight that you just made yourself. It needs to be a real flight. So if you have that, then you have a big chance of succeeding at getting your visa for China. So I extended my visa also in China. I did this in Leshan. That is where the big Buddha is in the wall. You need to bring a photo, you need to bring your application, and then in no time, in I think 2 days, I got my visa. So really easy. And then I had another month to spend in China, but I didn't want to stay that long. I really wanted to go to Nepal and India. After a month and a half, I was okay with China for that time. For Tibet, a 10-day period to get your visa. But if you book your trip with an agency, they will get you your visa. So you don't need to worry about that. They do it. Nepal is a visa on arrival. Easy. You pay $50 and you get your visa and it's all done. It's for a month. And then for India. India can be quite difficult because if you want to travel overland from Nepal to India, you can't get your visa online. You need to get it in Kathmandu. If you get a visa online, you need to fly into the country, but you want to cross the border overland. So what you do in Kathmandu, you go to the embassy. You need to visit 3 times. The first time you go, you visit the embassy to drop off your online visa application. You need to print it out with a photo and your fee. And then after 5 days, you can come back with your passport. You drop off your passport, and then the next day you get your visa. You can pick up your passport and you can go to India. What I did myself was, because I didn't want to wait that long in Kathmandu because it's a really busy city and I don't like that. I arrived in Kathmandu. I went to the visa center, then went to Pokhara to do my yoga retreat and my hike. Then after like I think it was 2.5 weeks, I went back to Kathmandu. I dropped off my passport at the visa center, and then the next day I picked up my passport again. I went in the bus and I drove to the border of India. And that was it. Actually, that is everything for the visa applications. My biggest tip is just Google in your own country the embassies of the countries you want to visit. The websites are always really clear. They give you a lot of information. And then planning and buying your train tickets. So in Europe, I warn you, don't buy those European rail tickets because they are really expensive and you can barely travel. In Europe, I use Flixbus and local trains. And Flixbus is really cheap, but sometimes the trains are the same price and it's way faster. So don't always go for cheap. Sometimes take a train because it is more comfortable, because Flixbus from Amsterdam to Prague was like 13 hours and it wasn't a nice ride. If I could do it again, I would definitely take a train because that was awful one. But for the rest, I really like the Flixbuses. It was really nice, cheap and quick. From Hungary to Ukraine, I took a train because it was just way cheaper and faster. So I will definitely recommend that. The train from Kyiv to Moscow, I felt a little bit insecure about that train trip because there was a lot of stuff going on between Russia and Ukraine, and I think it's still going on. But don't worry about the train, it's fine. They wake you up and they say, give me your visa, and you give it and then it's all over. So it's really chilled. People are so nice in the Ukraine. In Russia, I used 2 different websites to buy my train tickets for the Trans-Siberian Express and Trans-Mongolian Express all the way to Beijing. So I used Real Russia and Express to Russia, and both have really nice people working there. They're really helpful, they respond quickly, so I recommend both websites. And just find the cheapest tickets and choose wisely. I always choose the top beds because I really like it if people are not able to watch you sleep, and I think the chance of not having that is bigger at the top one. Plus, sometimes if you have a bottom bed, they expect you to like close it so people can sit. And yeah, I would just want to lay on my bed and read my books and watch some Netflix or and watch out of the window. For China, I used trip.com because a lot of the train tickets are sold out long before, especially the long train trips. Small trips are all bought on the train station or on the bus station, but for the long trips from Datong to Guilin, I booked more because then I was sure about that trip, because it was a long trip. For the rest, it was all booked on location. They ask you for your passport, you give them your passport, and I give you a tip: use your phone to show where you want to go, because even if you try to pronounce it, they probably say they don't understand you. So if you need to go to Xingping or something, just make sure you have it on your phone and you show them. Then Tibet, yeah, if you book your tour through Tibet, because you can only travel through Tibet with a tour, you can't travel alone. I was really lucky because the border was closed in between Tibet and Nepal for a long time. So I was really lucky that they opened it up and I could actually book a trip from Leshan to Kathmandu. So from Chengdu, from Leshan and Chengdu, I went all the way to Dunhuang, and then I went to Tibet because I had 10 days left. I didn't know what to do, and I ended up in the desert of China, and it was amazing. So I would definitely recommend doing that, because what are you gonna do 10 days? I didn't want to do all those big touristy things again. It was just too much. It's really busy in China sometimes, so I definitely recommend going there. From Tibet, they drop you at the border of Nepal, and at the border they check you out, and then you go into Nepal. And the Chinese side of the border, the building is huge, and then you get into Nepal where there is not even a road. It's just 4x4 roads. It's just off-road. It is just so different from China. And then we got at the border office, and the people were just chilling in the back. They were sleeping. There were chickens running around. It was an old building. So the difference between this Chinese border huge building and this little house with chickens running around and the people sleeping, I loved it. I loved that difference. So yeah, you pay $50. You get your visa on arrival. You can stay 30 days, easy. When you book the trip, they will directly ask you, do you want to transfer from the border to Kathmandu? And I would recommend to do that, unless if you want to hike in that area, then maybe find someone that can bring you to one of the villages where you can start the hikes. I will say when I was there was not a lot of like taxis or something waiting there. It was just trucks. So I don't know how that works, but I can tell you the road from there to Kathmandu is quite interesting. It's like big cliffs, and yeah, I'm really questioning how many trucks fall off those edges, but I don't know. So yeah, from Kathmandu you can actually basically get into any bus, because you go to the bus station, people run to you and it's like, where do you want to go? And then you say, yeah, Pokhara or India, and then they tell you like, oh yeah, come to my bus, and then they take you in the bus, and then you pay, and then they're happy because they want to fill their buses, and that's why they will help you find the bus, because it's their bus and then they earn money. So that works really easy. You can travel in Nepal with the buses or the minivans, and the minivans go way faster, but having transfers in Nepal is quite hectic. I mean, those people drive like they're gonna die anyway. It's insane. But yeah, I survived, so it should be fine. But I tried both. I did the bus and I did the minivan. The minivan is way faster. So if you want to save some time, take the minivans. But don't be scared, because you're gonna drive way too fast. You're gonna take over in corners, so expect that. But it is possible. Always ask the local next to you what the price is, because they always try to rip you off, so they make you pay more. But you know, why not? We're tourists. And from Kathmandu to India, I took 2 separate buses. I took a bus from Kathmandu to the border, and from the border to Varanasi. So there are buses that are going straight, but I couldn't find the right information. So I was like, you know what, I will just get in this bus and I'm just going there and I will see. And then when I was at the border, I actually found the bus that was going straight from Kathmandu to Varanasi. So I joined the bus from the border, and that actually saved me some money. So that was a good thing. When you're in Varanasi, I took a bus to Agra, to the Taj Mahal. It was just quicker. It was an overnight bus, so that was really awesome. You have like your own cabin, so you can sleep. I actually overslept. I can't believe it. I actually overslept, and I woke up like 20 minutes when we were past Agra. So I need to get out of the bus on the highway. They walked me to the other side of the highway, and then they put me in a car with like road workers, and they dropped me off somewhere else where I got into a tuk-tuk with 5 other people and my backpack and my other bag. And we were like way too tight in that thing. And then I actually ended up getting in Agra, and I was like, holy shit, this is the time I should actually got like kidnapped or something, but I didn't. And then from Agra I took the train to the south. It was a 2-night, 3-day train trip. I booked it directly with the IRCTC website, and that worked out quite well. So I got a top bed as well there, because people in India and the trains, they stare at you. I was really sick in the train, so I didn't eat in the train, so I can't say how the food was, but it smelled really nice. Even when I was sick, I was like, that actually smells nice. So that's a good sign. But that is basically all the information about the trains. You can all read it all back in the blog. I wrote a blog with all the information. There's probably some information missing, so if you missed something, let me know, then I will add it on the blog. I also made a video about my trip. I filmed 2 seconds every day, so I made like a quick time lapse of that. So it's really cool. Budget wise, I found it really difficult to give any information because I didn't hold back on my trip. I went horse riding for 6 days with locals, but that was only 350 euro. Can you imagine? It's nothing. And then in China, I didn't hold back. If I wanted to do something, I just did it. If the trip in Tibet, was expensive. It's $800, but you can't go around it because you need to go through Tibet to get in Nepal. And also, this trip in Tibet is one of a lifetime. It's beautiful. It's so special. And then I went for a 12-day yoga retreat in Nepal, and I didn't hold back. I did what I want to do, and I spent around 6,000 euro in those 4 or 5 months. Yeah, 5 months. And I think it was worth it. But you see the prices go from Amsterdam, where you pay like 20 euro a night or like 15 euro a night for a bunk bed, to like the Ukraine already go down to like 6 euro. And then you get in Moscow, where it's also like 5 euro. And then you go to Irkutsk, where I also pay like 4 or 5 euro. To Mongolia, like 2 euro. And then China, 1-2 euro a night. And then you can keep your budget low. But yeah, don't expect it everywhere to be cheap, because the special places can be expensive. And make it special. Don't go on a trip if you don't have enough money. If you want to do stuff like horse riding with locals, save a little bit more and do it. Make it your special trip. It's not just a trip that you fly somewhere and you explore. You explore the whole world over land. I mean, how special is that? And that's why I did it. And now it's time for you to plan your trip. And I really hope you guys are gonna do it and enjoy every second of it. Read my blog. I shared all the information also in a blog. You can read it, and if you have questions, let me know. Maybe I can add some information. Enjoy. Thank you for watching. Bye.